Take your podcast to the next level with Media 22. From top-tier equipment to custom sets and a dedicated producer, we'll make you sound like a pro. We specialize in audio and video podcasts, video editing, content distribution, and live streaming for creators and businesses. Visit media22llc.com today for your free consultation. Media 22, where excellence meets creativity. You are listening to the Big Difference Podcast, a podcast about empowering youth and strengthening communities through the transformative power of mentorship. I'm your host, Tracy Anderson, Community Partnerships Manager at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Dane County. Welcome to a very special episode of the Big Difference Podcast, our graduation episode. Today, we're celebrating the incredible littles who are graduating and stepping confidently into the next chapter of their lives. This is such a meaningful milestone, not just for the littles, but also for their bigs, their families, and the entire Big Brothers Big Sisters community. In this episode, we'll hear from 3 inspiring voices who each share what graduation means and the impact it has. First, we'll hear from Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway, a supporter of our graduation ceremony for the past few years. Then we'll hear from a very special pair, former Big Darrell Behnke and his little Jacob, as they reflect on the power of their 12-year match. So grab a tissue, get comfy, and join us in celebrating the growth, accomplishments, and bright futures of our amazing littles. Let's get started. Hi, Mayor Satya. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much. You know, we really wanted to do something special for this episode, this graduation episode. And of course, we thought of you right away because you have helped us and supported us in this graduation for the past few years now. The graduation took place May 28th. And you joined us again, and your continued support just means so much. I just want to get started and kind of get your perspective on everything. Why do you think youth mentoring matters to our city?
Well, you know, young people are so essential to our community and to our city. And one of our top priorities, I mean, as a city, but certainly I hope as a community, is making sure that they're successful. And there's a lot that goes into that, but one big piece of it is mentoring and making sure that every young person has that caring adult in their lives that's going to, you know, watch out for them and give them some advice and tips, you know, go out and have fun with them, but make sure that they've got that sort of solid, supportive presence and, you know, show them all of the possibilities that are available for them. And so I think that mentorship in general is really wonderful and important for our community. But what Big Brothers Big Sisters does is really special. And I just love seeing the bigs and littles, you know, celebrating each other. And it's just really touching to see that celebration at graduation.
Yeah, and we will hear from Darrell Behnke and Jacob on this podcast as well. But you were there last year at the ceremony, at the graduation ceremony. We have a beautiful picture of you all. Well, let's talk about the importance of investing in young people. So you're saying, you know, being a mentor is so important, but why do you think there should be the importance of investing in youth?
It's our biggest resource as a community, right, is our people. And if you think about, you know, Madison has a lot of strengths. Our geography is certainly one of them. But our biggest strength and what really underpins our economy is our people. And so we want to make sure that everybody who's grown up in Madison has a good education, has an understanding of the opportunities available to them, and can pursue the things that they are passionate about and interested in. And you know, one of the ways to make sure that every young person can do that is that they have, you know, a mentor or a caring adult in their lives that can help them connect with those opportunities. And that is, you know, again, that's what underpins our economy. It's what keeps our community connected and safe and caring for each other. I mean, particularly right now, I just feel like with everything that's going on in the world and at the federal government level, like it is up to us to take care of our community and to take care of each other. And the way what Big Brothers Big Sisters does is just a great example of our community taking care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having a mentor from our national office, we get updated on stats all the time. And one of the stats is like when you have a mentor through the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, the little, when they become an adult, they're more likely to earn more
Yep.
in their jobs, and it really makes a difference. I've heard different stories from bigs taking their littles on college tours and, helping them fill out scholarships, something they probably wouldn't have had if they had not been in the program. So I say all that to say, are there any stories of personal mentorship or community connections that you'd like to share?
I mean, I grew up surrounded by a village, and I had a lot of caring adults in my life. It wasn't a formal mentorship relationship, but I had a lot of people who were looking out for me and encouraging me and connecting me with opportunities. When I decided to go to college, my family couldn't afford it ourselves, and I mean, I did get financial aid and scholarships, but I also had caring adults in my life that literally helped pay for my college education and make sure that I could buy books and that I had what I needed, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I do, like, I understand how important that relationship is, to have people who care about you and want to see you succeed in your life. And then and I feel like I was able to go on. I did well in college. I went to grad school. I mean, like, a lot in my life rests on the fact that I had people looking out for me. I want that for every single kid in Madison, right? I want that
Mhm.
for all of the littles and every other kid in Madison to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there, and maybe they need that, like, let me help you fill out the scholarship form, or let me take you to show that, like, you could go to college, right? Or you could succeed in this career. Or sometimes what kids need is just that, like, exposure to the opportunity, and somebody believing that, yeah, of course they can do it.
Absolutely. And look, you're the mayor. So I think
That's right.
mentorship
Look what
worked.
happens.
I
Watch
mean,
out.
wow. Everybody get a mentor. Whether you're in the program or not, it truly makes a difference. So just one last thing I want to ask you. You were back at the graduation again this year at the Capitol. What words of encouragement or advice did you share with this year's graduating class as they step into their next chapter?
I mean, my biggest message is just thank you, right? So thank you to the bigs, for doing what they do, but also thank you to the littles for sticking with it. And it's a two-way relationship, right? It takes a big and a little. The main message is just thank you. But for the littles who are, stepping out into the world, my message is really just, you can do anything. You've
Yes.
got this solid foundation. You've got this big who's always going to be your big, right? Like, that relationship doesn't end just
Mhm.
because you graduated. And you can use that foundation to launch into anything. And so I believe in yourself, give back to your community, go get them, do whatever that dream is, go run after it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway, thank you so much for joining us on this very special graduation episode. You are a dedicated leader in our city, and you bring a powerful perspective on our community mentorship and the impact of supporting our youth. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Interested in becoming a big, joining an event, or supporting youth in your community? Visit bbbsmadison.org for Dane County or bbbs.org for nationwide opportunities. We'd love to connect with you. Thank you to Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway for sharing her powerful words and her highlighting the impact of the Big Brothers Big Sisters graduation celebration. Now, let's hear from former Big Brother Darrell Behnke. Darrell and his little brother Jacob were matched for an incredible 12 years. What a journey! Through the ups and downs, milestones, and memories, their bond remained strong, and now Jacob is in college, continuing to grow and to thrive. Darrell was nominated for 2022 Big of the Year, and it's easy to see why. Darrell has been a consistent positive influence over the past 11 years. As early as elementary school, Darrell was teaching Jacob the importance of giving back to the community. He even brought Jacob with him to a United Way event where he taught him about public speaking. The two dressed in matching suits, and Jacob stood proudly beside Darrell as he helped raise money for a great cause. Darrell's coworkers know Jacob well and see him as part of Darrell's family. Darrell, let's take a moment to reflect on this incredible match and the impact it's had on both of your lives. You know, when I started, I've heard about your match ever since I started. I've been with the organization for almost 3 years, and you and Jacob are like celebrities, you know, because the match has gone on for so long, and Jacob graduated last year. So can you tell the listeners, like, what was your experience like as a big?
It was great. Like many things in life, you get more out of it sometimes than you understand that you will. You're thinking, I'm going to make this commitment and give something, but you don't realize how much you're going to get from the experience. And that was certainly what I had with Jacob. We were matched when he was 6 years old in first grade. And, we stayed together through his high school, and we're still in touch today, and he's a freshman in college.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember seeing you all at the graduation last year. There's an awesome picture of you guys with the mayor, and I mean, it's what we hope for in the program, right? So let's talk about the emotional journey. Like, what was it like watching him grow up and then to graduate?
Well, it was a really enriching experience. I want to go back to that experience you talked about with the event where we wore matching suits,
Yes.
because that doesn't really tell you the full picture. So Jacob was in second grade, and so my employer had a United Way fundraising event, and so typically they would have an agency of the United Way come and talk about, what the fundraising goes toward. And I said, well, I'd be happy to do it for the agency could be Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I could talk about my experience as a big, which was a year or two into that experience at that time. And I'll bring my little along. And so I talked to his mom, and she said, yeah, it'd be okay to get him from school. So we went through that whole process. And so think about elementary school. So I went to his school to pick him up. I sat in the little chair in the hallway. And his teacher comes out with Jacob, and this wasn't prearranged. So he knew he was going to work with me. So he had his little blue sport coat on because he knew I would be wearing a suit for work. Yeah. And so when I got the school, they said, we've heard all about you. So, you don't realize what an impact you're having on these young lives all the time, and the things that you're doing and saying. So that's a microcosm of what it meant for him.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't, you don't always think about that, right? But it has impact way beyond, those ripples occur way beyond what you would imagine when you start the program. And so we started when he was really young. It was an ideal time for me because my kids had just graduated from high school. Dora Zuniga, who was the executive director at the time, knew that, and she said, this is his moment of weakness where, he likes being a parent.
Yeah.
He's not so far away from it. So let's make sure that we talk to him. And so it was a great time to start for me.
That's
to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's true with kids. You never know, right? Until something happens. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, you do want to see me again? You do like me again?
Yeah, right.
It's a great feeling to know that moment that you talk about, like when you knew you were making an impact, right? Mm-hmm. Because how long would you say you were matched, and then all of a sudden you realized like you were making an impact on his life? Yeah,
I think it was probably that, maybe it was that 1 year anniversary or so where you're starting to see things like it's some of the things that you learn about being a big, it's like you don't set the rules for their lives. You just talk about how your experience is going to get together. And so that is like, when we get together, we do these things. This is how we interact. And so you start to see them anticipate that and do those things. And it's not, I think one of the misconceptions I had was, that you would always be doing special things, but sometimes it's just doing normal things, right? It's going to your house and making a meal together and clearing the table and playing a board game. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's having that special time for them.
Yes,
that makes
absolutely.
a difference. Yeah.
So I just had a thought. Like, when did you know? Because, I mean, you started at 6 years old. It's a 12-year match. You guys are still in touch. I mean, when did you know? And I hope I don't cry asking this question. But when you're like, I can't see myself without him in my life, like I can't see my life without him.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I don't know if there was ever an aha moment that occurred because, we had similar interests. That's why we were matched. We liked sports and we liked to do things outside and things like that. So we were matched based on those interests. But I think somewhere along the line, you come to appreciate each other in a deeper way. And so, he was always part of my life, and is always part of my life. And it's different now than when we were seeing each other regularly. But we went on and did things together with my friends. We did things together with my family. But he came to my work and participated in the United Way, and people would ask about him. And I had his picture in my office, just like I had pictures of my kids, So it's been a real gift for me to have him in my life, as I hope it's been a gift for him to have me in his life.
So going into this, did you have any idea it was going to last this long?
Not at all. It's a 2-year commitment, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So
well, now we got a 1 year.
Oh, okay. Well, and so I was thinking, well, we'll do this for a couple of years and see how that goes. And I understand that people move or, their jobs change or whatever. And that just didn't happen with us. I was fortunate. Jacob's got a great mom, and she was always very supportive of the process and the program. They stayed in the area and I stayed in the area. And so it just continued on. And I don't know that there'll ever be a day where I don't think about him in some way.
Yeah. It sounds just so organic.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and I think that's true. Relationships have to grow and you nurture them. Certainly you have to invest in them. Jacob was a teenager, just like my kids were teenagers, and I was a teenager sometimes. So, I learned with, my kids to have interaction with them, and then you can talk versus, sitting and talking, because as a teenager, that seems too much pressure, right?
Right.
But if you're playing catch and you can talk about anything,
right.
It's not like magical from, creation. You go through ups and downs and like in any relationship, but you learn from that and you become to appreciate each other, I think. So, yeah, it's been great.
And I'm sure Jacob really looked at you as a male role model that he needed in his life.
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, he has a great relationship with his grandfather, which I think was, very instrumental in his life too. When the first event or the first time that Jacob and I went and did something, so he was young, so we just went and had breakfast together. So we went and got pancakes, he got the Mickey Mouse pancakes with the whipped cream and all that. So I was just trying to ask him questions as a 6-year-old. He sort of doesn't know me, right? So I said, "Does your grandpa have gray hair like me?" And he looked and he said, "No, your hair's white." So I love that because it made me, just like you did, it made me belly laugh. Like, yep, you're a kid telling me like you see it.
That's right.
So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what is Jacob doing now?
So Jacob's a freshman in college, so he's at Carroll University, and so a number of interests that he's thinking about how he wants, he's always, he's been a camp counselor, he's worked with kids, and he's always loved sports, so I think he's working in a direction where he can pursue those passions, and so I'm happy for him. He's coming up on the end of his first year. He's playing lacrosse, and so good for him.
Yeah. So what does life look like for you guys now? I mean, a 12-year match. He graduated last year. So how often do you guys see each other now? Or
Yeah, we mostly text back and forth from time to time, checking in. We went to a football game together. I went down to see him, and we had to see him in college, not that far away. And we just grabbed dinner together one day. And, so we keep in touch that way. And just like in high school, we talked about, setting goals and what do you can say, I want to get all straight B's or straight A's or whatever the goal is, but you have to break that down and say, well, what are you going to do each week and what are you going to do each day? And Jacob could relate to that in sports. So we still talk like, what are your goals for this semester? What do you hope to accomplish? And, if this happens, great, but what's your backup plan? Because, that's, life gives you twists and turns, right? So you have to think about, well, if something that I don't expect happens, what do I want to do with that?
Right. So do you see the impact that you've had on him all these years and, vice versa, I guess the impact that he's had on you?
Yeah, I don't know that I'd be so bold as to say, I had these impacts on him. I certainly hope he feels like that. And I certainly think that he has had that with me. I think about, we're all busy, right? We all have many things to do, and you want to make sure that you do things that are worthwhile, that it's worth the investment of your time and energy. And, there were times where when Jacob was young in particular, I saw him, certainly every other week or so, just to be that regular, maybe sometimes more frequently than that. And I'd be thinking, oh God, I got so many things to do, and then I would go spend a few hours with him, and it would be, the benefit for me was seeing what was I thinking, whatever that task was or thing that I thought I needed to get done was so small relative to the benefit of spending time with Jacob and doing something like that. So that's the benefit I got. It helped me see a reminder regularly of, how are you spending your time, and are you doing things that are impactful, or you're just doing things that you're checking off, a list of tasks to do.
So any advice you would have for like new bigs or those that are considering signing up?
Well, first, my advice is you should try it. Be bold, jump in the pool.
Yeah.
You're not making a 12-year commitment. It could turn out to that,
Right.
to be that. But going back, a number of things. So one, it's worth your time. You want to make sure you're using your time for things that are impactful. And this is a way to have impact. You're a mentor to somebody. You're going to get as much or more from it than what you put into it. And so it's worth your time.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the second thing I would say is, a thing I didn't appreciate or understand until I got into it is that, the parent and the child are looking for this relationship. Mm-hmm. You don't have to sell them why they should be doing this. They want this, and they're looking, and for boys in particular, at least, I don't think the statistics have changed. They've been waiting a while.
Yes.
And they want to have a male influence in their life. Their parent and that child want to have in my case, a male influence on that life. So you don't have to sell that. You don't have to be worried about that. They want that experience. And then the last thing I would say is, you don't have to do extravagant things. We learned that Jacob likes cooking because we cooked together. So then we did some cooking classes, and we did different things like that. I engaged my friends. I had a friend who had a sailboat, so we went sailing. I had a friend who likes fishing, so we went fishing. We went cross-country skiing. We went ice skating. But it wasn't, trips to Disney World. It was regular life. And don't be intimidated by thinking, well, what do I know about this? You'll have a great experience.
Yeah. So true. So do you have any words of encouragement or advice you'd like to share with this year's graduating class as they step into their next chapter?
I would say a number of things. One, uncertainty is okay. I remember that, even though it was a while ago for me, but I remember with my children and with Jacob, how do I know what I want to do with my life? And, uncertainty is okay, because I had a 34-year career, but I didn't know that job existed when I was in college. It was only after college and working and finding things and that I found that. The second thing is to be curious, because I found the job that I really loved because I was curious. Like, well, what is that about? I think if you approach the world, whether it's a big brothers, big sisters experience, or just try to understand, what can I learn from this? Why is this person doing this? What did they get from that? Or why do they have this perspective? If you approach things with curiosity, your life will be richer. And so uncertainty is okay. Be curious. And then lastly, keep in touch with your big, because they want to hear from you. Just because the program ends doesn't mean your friendship ends. And so keep in touch.
Interested in becoming a big, joining an event, or supporting youth in your community? Visit bbbsmadison.org for Dane County or bbbs.org for nationwide opportunities. We'd love to connect with you. Thank thank you to Darrell Behnke for sharing the story of his match with Jacob and the incredible impact of their relationship and this graduation has had on both of their lives. Now, let's hear from Jacob, who recently graduated from the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Dane County program. Jacob wanted to share in his own words what being a part of the program has meant to him and what graduating represents as he looks ahead to the future. Jacob, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you for this special graduation podcast that we're doing. And so, of course, I was at the graduation last year. I saw that you were there with the mayor and your big brother, Darrell, and your match went on for 12 years, which is incredible. So can you tell the podcast listeners, what did graduating from the Big Brothers Big Sisters program mean to you?
For me, graduating from the BBS program meant a lot to me. It meant that I can accomplish things, and that if I work hard, I can get things done. And I think that really helped me think about my future and think about things I can get done in my life.
That's wonderful. So do you feel like, having that mentor in your life really changed the journey that you're on now? I mean, you're at college.
Absolutely. I'd have to agree with that. I think having Darrell in my life was really important, and I think without him, I probably wouldn't be at this great of a college that I'm at. And I think that really changed my life and the trajectory of my life. So I'm really thankful for that.
Can you describe your big in one word?
For me, I think I'd have to go with amazing, just because I think that he changed my life. And I think that all the work he did to help me stay focused during school, all 4 years of high school and middle school, I think really helped me a lot. And it showed me that I always have someone in my corner who's going to be there for me and never give up on me.
So do you feel like having a mentor, that's how it changed your life?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's one moment with your big you'll never forget?
I think I'd have to go the Badger football games that we went to, because it was a lot of fun, because I got to meet a lot of people with them there. And I think getting to experience those games with them and just getting to be with them and hang out with them was really fun for me.
Just having a big in your life, I mean, I was saying this to Darrell. He said he got matched with you when you were 6 years old, and the match has lasted 12 years and beyond. I mean, you guys still keep in touch. What is life like with your relationship now?
I think it's pretty similar to how it was in high school. We still check in with each other and see how things are going, but we're both on different schedules now that he's retired and not working at the bank, and now that I'm at college and I'm farther away from him. I think just checking in with each other and staying close in contact, I think has been really nice for me. And it definitely helps that I know I can still count on him to be in my corner and be there for me when I need it.
So what advice would you give to anyone who's considering being a mentor?
I think I'd have the advice to make sure that you let your little know that, or even your mentee know that you'll always be there for them, and that if they work hard and don't give up, they'll be able to achieve whatever they want, and just stay positive during the hard times, for sure.
And what would you say, why is it important for someone to become a big in the program? If they're considering it, why is it important for them to do that?
I think it's important because if you don't stay positive and if you don't let your mentor know that you have their back, they won't feel as comfortable in being with you and opening up to you, and they'll think down on themselves and have self-doubt. And I think just letting them know that you'll be there for them really helps boost their confidence and makes them want to succeed a lot more.
And how do you hope that you're going to give back someday?
I think my hope is to also become a big, so that I can help change someone's life and help make sure someone has the confidence to keep working hard and keep growing as a person all throughout their life.
And is there any advice that you want to give to the graduating class this year?
My advice would be to keep working hard and never give up, and follow your gut and trust yourself that you'll make your best choices.
Well, thank you so much, Jacob, for joining us today and sharing your story and the impact that the Big Brothers Big Sisters program had on you and the graduation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you, Jacob. As we wrap up this special episode of the Big Difference podcast, we want to give a big shout out to this year's graduating littles. All of us at Big Brothers Big Sisters, we are so proud of each and every one of you. Your hard work, resilience, and dedication have brought you to this milestone, and we can't wait to see what your next chapter holds. And here's to the graduating class of 2025, Aaliyah, Lindsay, Caden, Cameron, LaShawn, Josiah, Jocelyn, Matthew, Savannah, Devin, Amarius, Lashaya, Kenneth, Destiny, Amari, Sir Zion, Samir, and Amanda. To our littles, their bigs, and their families, thank you for being a part of this incredible journey. And to our listeners, thank you for celebrating with us. As we close out this episode, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our amazing guests, people who truly understand the power of community and connection. Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway and former Big Brother Darrell Behnke and little brother Jacob. Thank you for listening to the Big Difference Podcast, a podcast about empowering youth and strengthening communities through the transformative power of mentorship. I'm your host, Tracy Anderson, Community Partnerships Manager at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Dane County. You can learn more. You can just visit our website at bbbsmadison.org. It's all about making the big difference. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Take your podcast to the next level with Media 22. From top-tier equipment to custom sets and a dedicated producer, we'll make you sound like a pro. We specialize in audio and video podcasts, video editing, content distribution, and live streaming for creators and businesses. Visit media22llc.com today for your free consultation. Media 22, where excellence meets creativity.